Actually, that's a story in and of itself. You couldn't have really painted a worse scenario where, I've got everything set to go and I'm ready to fly out and move to China for the next 4 years of my life. And I remember waking up the morning. At the time, I think I was flying the uh, out of the New Orleans Louis Armstrong Airport,
Mm.
International Airport. And that morning, I woke up and I remember having kind of like a scratchy throat,
Oh,
kind of not feeling that great,
right.
right? So, but me, I'm not thinking much of it. At the time, it felt fairly harmless. However, things started to escalate pretty quickly as we got to the airport. I was definitely not feeling that great, but again, I was not to be deterred.
Right.
So, and plus, things are already in motion at this point. I just need to get my butt on the plane.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember I bought a hoodie there in the airport, and I've got my carry-on and everything, and I hop on the plane. Well, for that very long flight, without question, I've got the flu.
Yeah.
Like this escalated very rapidly, and I had just a terrible fever on the plane. I've got chills, I've got aches, I'm like shivering on the plane. It was miserable. And meanwhile, I remember thinking that Sean May is going to receive a very sick me.
Right.
I know she's excited. She hadn't seen me in months, but she's going to receive a very sick me. And so I arrived there, and anyway, luckily, when I got there, I'm already experienced, like I'm half sick, half like experiencing some crazy culture shock because the location. Because she was also tasked with finding a place for us to live. We were not living with her folks or her sister or anything like that. So yeah, we I remember being on the plane and feeling extremely sick. Terrible. I've got aches. I definitely have the flu. I know I've got the flu. High fever. I've got, I'm shivering practically for, half the flight. Couldn't sleep. And I remember thinking, I know that Sean May is so excited to receive me.
Right.
We haven't seen each other in months. But what she doesn't know, and I have no way to actually tell her, is I'm extremely sick. You know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I arrive. She sees me. We embrace, and I immediately just kind of told her, I said like I am not doing well. I'm like quite sick. And at the time, I don't think she knew or could understand the gravity of what I was saying. I think she just felt like, oh, like I'm a little under the weather. But I'm like, no, I feel like death. But anyway, at this point we've got all my luggage in the taxi, and we're already heading to our apartment. Now, previously, I kind of tasked her with finding us a place to live. I wanted to find a place that was relatively close to the university, and that way, ideally, I could walk to work, or at least maybe it's a subway station or two, just a couple hops away. And so anyway, she had found a place that was within our budget, which was very low at the time. And and I remember it being late at night, and the taxis pulling up to our community, and I'm so out of it. I'm so sick that I'm not really even paying attention to where we are, like what things look like. And I remember, thinking that this is already a kind of a nightmare scenario. But it didn't get better because I remember like, getting out of the taxi and, helping the gentleman get my luggage out of the back of the car. And then I see this dingy, like, extremely old looking building. And she's like, well, we're up there. And I'm like, okay. And we're walking through these really dark, like hallways. I think our place was on the second floor, and I'm seeing just like running wires, exposed wires everywhere. It was nuts. It was very chaotic. And then, I remember we had the steel gate that was blocking our way to, in the hallway. Some guy installed a steel gate, so we had to open that up. And then, of course, we've got the door to our unit. We open that up. It's extremely tiny. It looks extremely old. And I remember the only thing I want to do is I just wanted to, lay down. I just wanted to
Right.
sleep.
Right.
And so I laid down, and luckily, that night I was really concerned because I think all the pharmacies were closed at that time because it was really late at night. The only other option would have been to go to the hospital. However, at that time, I definitely was not exactly in a hurry to test Chinese hospitals out,
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let me just see if I can kind of wait this out for a little bit. Let's just see how this evolves.